Parties, whether that be the BBC or the NHS, are sort of dovetailed in with today's case, because to enable the victims to be properly compensated, Savills estate has got to be properly administered so that hopefully compensation is then available to be paid to the victims, along with any compensation that might be due from the NHS or the BBC or any other party that might be responsible for what Savills did.
Why should the victims get compensation?
Because that is the only show left in town, as it were, because Savills is not around to be held account for the crimes that he committed. The only form of justice that these people can now get, it's imperfect justice, but it nevertheless is justice, and that is compensation. That is the only way that they are going to get any semblance of justice.
There are some questions, some arguments, if I can put it like that, about the executor. Explain, if you can, in the simplest of terms, what the problems are there.
The executor is the National Westminster Bank, and one of the parties under Savills' will is not happy with the way that National Westminster Bank has conducted matters to date, and apparently would like it replaced by another entity. So that is one of the arguments that is taking place in court today.
Okay, of course, as you know, Alan, this comes on the day of this report from the NSPCC, which talks in great length about how victims of the abuse were let down and not listened to. What have your clients said about that?
Well, they welcome today's report because it demonstrates the enormous difficulty victims have had in coming forward. Victims often have a misplaced sense of guilt, shame, which prevents them from coming forward. It's a very powerful deterrent. And victims understandably are concerned that if they do come forward, that they are going to be listened to with respect, that they are not going to be dismissed. And the report highlights that those are real fears. And if any good is going to come out of what we've heard over the last year or so, is the fact that those who have to deal with child abuse allegations will listen with respect and will take note of what the victims are saying and will act appropriately. Victims must have the confidence in knowing that if they come forward and speak about the abuse that they say that they suffered, that it will be taken seriously. And that is terribly important. So if any good is going to come out of the tragedy that we've been hearing about, will be that.
Do you think there should be mandatory reporting of abuse?
Yes, there should be. If mandatory reporting will encourage those who are responsible for child abuse welfare matters to address those issues when they become aware of them and to report where appropriate. Because one of the problems that we are only too familiar with as a result of all the many child abuse scandals is that the abuse has been happening, it's been clear, it's been noted, but has nevertheless not been reported or not reported adequately. And of course the abuse goes on and it gets replicated and the tragedy just goes from bad to worse, as it were. So mandatory reporting will have the effect of making those who are responsible for child welfare issues accountable and responsible, so that when they are aware of a problem or the fact that there might be one, they will deal with it, that it will not be subjected to the risk of being ignored or swept under the carpet.
Okay, very briefly, Alan, as we mentioned during court today, what is the time frame for how this matter is resolved, is talked about?
Well, I'm hoping very much that the court proceedings will be over by Wednesday at the latest, that the proposal for the victims to be compensated through a scheme will be approved by the court, and then the victims at long last can see the light at the end of the tunnel, and that they know with confidence that their claims are going to be dealt with fairly, and that they at long last will get a chance of getting a little bit of justice.
Alan Collins, lawyer at Slater and Gordon, thank you.
Thank you.